Perth very much sees itself as a landscape city. And I think that the landscape and suburban sensibility runs very deep in our cultural psyche. Perth is already a big sprawling pancake, and if we continue adopting that urban model to accommodate that population growth, Perth will more or less stretch to Geraldton in the north and Bustleton in the south. That urban form could cause a lot of problems.
We're increasingly a diverse country. I think the second most diverse country on the planet, but we're still putting people in housing that really has been driven from the 1930s or something out of a different culture. We have so many opportunities to address all of these different points of view and different expectations, and the time is right to do that.
The problem in Perth is we're delivering a lot of low-density kind of infill, which is what's called background infill. It's basically the subdivision of backyards, and that's aggravating a lot of communities and actually turning people away from wanting infill in their neighbourhood. So we desperately need some exemplar models of medium-density infill development in Perth.
Shoreline is a breakthrough project for DevelopmentWA. It's going to provide housing for well over 5,000 people over the coming decades. A small component of Shoreline, but a very important component of Shoreline, is Salt Lane. Salt Lane presents DevelopmentWA's Innovation Through Demonstration program. We plan to produce 170 dwellings in an integrated form, all the way from compact homes on less than 100 square metre lots, traditional townhomes, and then apartment sites, all within the one integrated city area, within a close proximity to the Fremantle Activity Centre, and of course offsetting the need to go onto the urban fringe.
With the Salt Lane project, the actual site itself was designated for a number of medium to high density developments. The demand for that type of residential development is really not strong at the moment, and the discussion we had with DevelopmentWA was how do you achieve those residential densities without necessarily having to go into a multi-storey high-rise apartment type complex.
Well, I think we realised very early on that we had a challenge on our hands in order to be able to address medium density and the missing middle, and to be able to demonstrate a lot of diversity in that medium density range, but making sure that we were providing an environment that had a lot of amenity. High quality design buildings and high quality landscaping was absolutely essential. And so we felt that getting a different range of skill sets in the room was very important, and that collaboration would be really essential in that process. So we approached the Australian Urban Design Research Centre and asked them to help us with that.
We were approached to bring together planners of local government, state government, developers, local government officials who are in charge of things like servicing with garbage trucks. So a huge diversity of different people.
And here we're really trying to offer what is termed now as the missing middle. We had a program that was ambitious, and we had such a range of professionals, so we needed to bring them along for the ride. We got some really good input because we were really speaking to professionals in their own field. They had quite a different view on development and what it should look like and what its feel could be.
In terms of maintenance and how it would actually be.
The most typical workshop approach is to bring in some options to show the group and get some feedback and discuss it, but not really unpack it all and start from first principles. What was really interesting in this Salt Lane process was the degree of openness.
Really what we found was that there was very limited precedence of these types of typologies. We really needed to look at a range of typology examples.
At the end of that process, we produced a number of different concepts. Overall, I think it really achieves that reinforcing that coastal sense of place. So the draft master plan really had been tested in terms of the approximate size of lots for the different typologies of housing, accommodating the landscaping and making sure we were tying into other public areas in Cove and Coast. So it was a very high-level plan and still very flexible. So the idea was that when we got into more detailed design, that we would then procure the planners and engineers and architects to work collaboratively with that plan to refine it and get into detailed design to make sure that it all worked in terms of the servicing, the access, all the practical issues that you have to go through. So that was the next phase of detailed design.
When you start talking about higher density populations, there are issues that come out. It's almost a holistic approach that you need to actually take, looking at not only how do you actually build and construct, but how do people live within those spaces and how do they operate within those spaces.
Really, we recut the master plan in a very collaborative sense with the local government. The local government were really excited about trying to actually see what could be done against their standards for a particular outcome in a specific location that needed a unique approach. From a civil engineering perspective, it was about making sure that our road networks and our path networks really worked to enhance the walkability of the precinct.
When you decide to do medium density, you're putting a lot of dwellings together in a small space. Issues to do with servicing of the lots, how you'll get the infrastructure to each lot. The design of the roads was a major challenge for us. We wanted to create a very compact and high-quality environment that felt a bit more intimate. The road design became one of the major issues for us to solve. And we tried different models based on the current regulations. And in the end, we ended up with very much a hybrid of different road systems. So we've got part of the development that's two-way, part of it's one-way, some of it is shared streets and heavily landscaped areas.
The key lesson that we learned from an engineering perspective is to really engage with the architects and the landscape architects early on in the piece.
The brief for the architects was to look at the lots that we had come up with an initial design for, to interrogate whether or not they could actually use those lots and whether or not they needed to be changed in any way, either in length or width. To design the houses as part of that process, working in collaboration with the planner and the landscape architect and the engineer to make sure that all of the components came together.
One of the things that we did was, rather than look at the lot size first, we looked at the house size first. And then as a result, the lot sizes were developed in response to that.
The houses we designed were conceived as upside-down houses. That was one of the strategies we used to maximize solar access and cross-ventilation, which involves basically putting the living areas on an upper floor.
It's not just about aesthetics, it's about good design, getting good outcomes, cross-ventilation, natural light, connectivity between indoor and outdoor spaces. So it promotes a really good quality of life if it's done right. Our parcel was 4 two-bed townhouses, bookended by 4 micro lots, 1-bed dwellings on an 80 square metre lot, which is sort of a new typology in Perth. It's not something that's done very often. So that was a really interesting challenge for us. We need to increase our density, and so we need developments and lots to be smaller, and we need to work out how to design better for those small lots.
It was very much an open door in terms of the thinking and the process that all the architects were able to bring to the party. And I think it made everyone's designs better as a result of that.
It facilitates a better outcome because it really helps to ensure that we have create a built environment or precinct that's a lot more coherent and designed as a collection rather than just as lots of individual pieces.
brief and the intention we had from Development WA was a coastal village that was reflected within the landscape, providing a public space that's an extension of the private realm. Everyone was on board with the vision that Development WA had. The impact that has on the outcomes, it's massive, and it's actually quite a surprise. It's little things that all add up to the big outcomes. So shifting services so you can put a street tree in. Little things like that which adds up.
In terms of this being replicated, you need an extremely supportive local government, and certainly the built form product here can be replicated. And that is the intention, that through the demonstrative abilities of this precinct, that others will then see what can actually be achieved in the missing middle realm.
It demonstrates how good design can create really great spaces for living and improve the quality of people's lives.
It's looking like an unprecedented medium-density village which delivers both landscape and coastal amenity at a higher density.
Look, I think it's going to be very different to anything that we've seen before in Perth. Of course, the development is located in a fantastic position, a stone's throw from the beach. So I think it's just a fantastic area for someone to live with the kind of amenity that's going to be provided.
Development WA has a key strategy of innovating through demonstrating. We hope to assist industry move to a future which is more sustainable, which balances the needs of today's population with tomorrow's citizens as well. Our innovation through demonstration program shows how this can be done today.